I am in the beautiful gem of a city known as Tallahassee, Florida, joined by Chobra, who you guys will not see at all this event other than that YouTube video of him commentating Zyrene dancing. And it's like right before day 3 begins.
Yeah, day 3. Yeah.
And so what are you doing here at Chobra?
Just hanging out, enjoying the view, loving the weather in Tallahassee. I mean, so much to see. Now, here with OGN, as we usually are, with any global event from Riot, casting in Korean, actually.
Nice. In Korean.
Yeah.
Was there you said in Korean actually, as if like OGN would possibly be casting in something else.
Well, I mean, we cast our own tournaments in English, so, just in case there was some confusion.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I see. Okay. Well, either way, I thought because I was going to interview a Korean that I would do the Asian style thing of holding a lav mic box instead of my normal thing.
Yeah.
But what have you thought of this event so far? I mean, SKT looks really good. TSM looks terrible. Like, what are your thoughts?
So I think most people's prediction that it was going to be one of the most interesting global tournaments we've had in League of Legends has come true already. Like, no matter what happens now, it's been very interesting. Personally, I mean, I'm with most people that I am disappointed in TSM's performance. I'm not shocked, but disappointed, right?
Okay.
So, like, I definitely think they could have fully done better. But at the same time, given their performances at global events here and there, it's not like a one-of situation. This has happened in the past. So that's a bit of a shame for NA. AHQ was a pleasant surprise. I mean, I've been hearing that they've been getting better and better, but again, it's like you can't tell until you're on a global stage. And I think finally this year, the LMS region is proving that they're back.
Yeah.
So that's exciting.
I mean, is it that AHQ is good, or is it just that TSM was terrible?
No, I think AHQ is pretty good.
Okay.
They have very distinct weaknesses that I think are easy to exploit for now. But so my standard is like AHQ last year, right, at Worlds, where like they put up a good fight, but they put up a good fight really through cheese that time.
Yeah.
And this time, I don't think that's really the case. I think their team fight's really good and whatnot. I think the analysis that LMS experts have been giving us have been pretty spot on about AHQ.
Yeah, I heard a lot of people saying like, oh, they upset Yowie Flash Wolves, and Yowie Flash Wolves did well at IEM, so that must mean that they're going to do well here. And I was like, I don't know about that. SKT though, SKT or EDG? Talk to me about this, because I think this is what the finals are supposed to be, right?
That's the most expected result. Although I'm personally holding off on HQ versus EDG. Like, I think again, HQ is exploitable, but at the same time, like, this is such a grand chance for them. Who knows what effect they'll have for SKT. I do think they have a very good chance against Fnatic, and I think they're really strong. So, I mean, I said this on PTL. I personally am with the very minor group of people that think that Easyhoon is really rising to be the number 1 mid, possibly. Well, so maybe not around the world, because Easyhoon definitely has this very distinct style, but I think he's going to be better for T1 in the long run for now.
It's funny to hear you say I'm part of the small group of people. This is especially following yesterday's Azir game. I feel like this is the new meme.
Well, that's true. After yesterday's Azir game, I think most people around the world are finally seeing why people like me and others have been saying this for a while. But you look at Faker's games, and basically he doesn't have the same impact that he used to, but that's the only way his style is going to work, because he's so aggressive. He's such a risk taker, and so he needs to have like a super big impact. Otherwise, it's like, we'd rather go with Easyhoon, who has a chance to leave a big impact, but otherwise is super safe.
Can you talk to me a little bit? Because I feel like there hasn't been too much conversation. Westerners are like, wait, they have 2 mid laners, and do they flip a coin? Like, how does this work? It's actually just a very bizarre idea, I think, to a lot of people. How does it work? Like, what's the idea behind all this? Like, is this going to catch on in the West, you think?
Well, so it's really hard. I mean, even in Korea, SKT is the only one that has made this work, where they don't look at this new system as substitutes. They look at it as a fleshed out roster. Or fleshed out roster. So for Easyhoon and Faker, I think that's the biggest thing. Faker is he takes a lot of risks, but then he can make super big plays. And therefore, if it's a game where you think your best bet to win is to snowball, then Faker is going to be your best bet. But against teams like, say, EDG or most of the Korean teams in LCK, you're going to try to start with Easyhoon to see if you can just have that consistent win and maybe go for the 3-0 or 3-1, because that way no one's like standing on edge and Bang doesn't have to suddenly hyperventilate in game 4 to just barely win the game and things like that. So, and at the same time, I want to mention, like, that's the same system with Bengi and Tom. And most likely with the idea behind Peekaboo and Wolf. Unfortunately, obviously, Peekaboo suffered an injury, so he's recovering for now. But I think in the summer season, we could see that in all 3 of those positions for SKT, at which point it will be really scary for any team, not just in Korea, but the rest of the world, to try to catch up to that system.
Yeah. But it seems so strange to me because you're, like, it must be incredibly hard to practice with this. Like, how do you, like, do you... Because especially once you have, it's one thing when you have just 2 mid laners, but whenever you start to have like multiple people in other positions, like I feel like so many people look at it as like, oh, you grind out these scrims so that you all work as like this one well-oiled machine to win, to beat them, right? And so whenever you're just swapping people in, especially mid-series, that's got to be so strange.
So a lot of people in Korea recently, CJ has mentioned that, and then Faker has said it himself, are talking about how they are valuing solo queue practice a lot more. I think that's maybe where it comes in, where in solo queue, obviously your best bet to win is for you to perform better than, you know, a one-man show. Like, you want to do at least 2 people's worth of gameplay to win securely. And so if you can do that with 4 random, you know, strangers, then most likely, even if one person changes, it's going to happen. Obviously, we've seen a trend with SKT where they prefer Easyhoon paired with Tom and Faker with Bengi, so they have a standard. But clearly, like, Easyhoon has no issue playing with Bengi and vice versa here at MSI.
So there's a lesson here, fuck teamwork. League of Legends is all about the individual. Just like get a bunch of the highest ranking challenger people on a team and they'll go into the LCS?
No, but I do think this highlights that, again, the flip side of it being a team game is that you have to adapt. So in the past, everyone focused on just adapting to the enemy, but now you have to adapt to your teammates. And that's like why T1K was so dominant, was because if Faker wasn't able to do much because he was getting camped, then Impact would show up. And if Impact was getting camped, Piglet would show up. You know, they were adapting back and forth.
So is this how Korea comes back after like the soft start this year where people are like, oh yeah, China has run in and pillaged their country and all their players from them. And so they're like, how do we do this? And they're like, you know what? We'll beat you by having even more Koreans. Like, you guys have 2 Koreans each now, but we'll have 2 extra Koreans hanging out so that we could beat you. Now we have 7. Deal with that.
Maybe. I actually just really think that SKT has come back alive quite a bit. Like, so CJ has come back somewhat into form, and Jin has still been improving, but I still think on a global stage, as we saw with GE, I don't think CJ would have necessarily performed as well as SKT is at MSI. I don't think Jin would have performed this well at MSI, even if they, say, made it through, right, to the round of 4. So I think it's mainly SKT, but we'll have to see. I mean, MSI is not over yet either. I think so. The Korean team was saying, SKT was saying this, a lot of people in the community were saying this. EDG's picks against SKT were a little questionable and iffy. It didn't seem like they brought their strongest traits. So if they do that, right, if they meet again in the finals, then who knows what will happen.
Well, I am seeing people point at us, which probably means that we need to get out of here because they're setting up. But I do want to get your last thing I'll ask is your predictions for EDG versus SKT.
But that match hasn't even been established.
Which one is going to win?
Like the whole tournament?
Yeah.
SKT, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just simple as that.
Because maybe I won't post this until afterwards, and then I'll look like a god for just being cocky. Otherwise, I'll look like an idiot. I like to be very risky with my plays and interviews.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. You can be the faker of interviews, and I'll be the easy one.
Yeah. Exactly. Anything that you want to say?
I mean, thanks for all the support that you guys have given me, especially after IEM Katowice. I really appreciate all the feedback and the support you guys have given me here in the League of Legends scene and esports in general. For anyone who's been here at MSI, it's been great to just be in the venue with you guys, watching some awesome games and awesome tournament. And you guys can find me on Twitter at Chobra and some other places, well, I stream, but other than that, I'm a little bit inactive on other places, so I'll save that for later.
Yeah. You used to have a blog.
I do still have one. I actually have 5 drafts saved on that blog that I never published, so maybe I should get on that.
It's a really effective use of a blog. Anyway, Chobra, it's so great to interview you as always. Hopefully we get to hang out more in the future. For everyone else, you can check out the rest of our coverage of all things MSI at gamespot.com/LOL.